Hi, and welcome back to part 2 of our relationship show. I'm Britton NewOne Carter, and this is On the Line, the show that promises to uplift and empower our community. We still have with us tonight Mr. Anthony Jordan, and also Miss Mijah Watson. Miss Mijah Watson, talented, beautiful young lady. We had a segment prior to this one. This is the second part of our earlier show, and we were talking about relationships. So tonight we had a live Twitter feed, and we'd like for our folks to call us, join in, chime in, ask those really hard, serious questions. You know, none for me, obviously. You know what I'm saying? But you know, ask the questions, and let's kick this thing around about relationships. Just to pick up where we had left off in our first segment, you know, we were talking about you as a professional, Mr. Jordan, and how difficult, you know, the dating scene may be for you, you know, due to the fact that you're so busy, you're an entrepreneur, you know, you're really a trailblazer. You know, you've done some great things in such a short period of time, and you know, my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
Mijah, you as well. You know, you're 20 years old, and you know, you're out here, you're an activist, and you're helping to develop the minds of our young kids, and that in itself is extremely commendable. You know, that's you're shaping future leaders, and in doing so, you know, what I was thinking about during the last show was that how invaluable that is, because what you're doing is you're helping to create behaviors, you know, positive behaviors. You know, our youth doesn't have to grow up thinking that they live just inside a box. You know, so you're showing them some things. You're allowing them to, you know, to be able to care about themselves, to have self-respect and that type of thing. And as I said, that's commendable. You know, I love it. Mr. Jordan, we're gonna kick this thing off, the second part of this thing, and we're gonna talk a little bit about the crazy again. We're gonna bring that back into play, but from a different point of view. From a different point of view, how many times have you seen or heard of two people entering into a relationship and with, you know, just their values, you know, they hadn't had time to really, you know, look at each other's resume, if you will, for the lack of a better word, and, you know, and weigh it. And I know oftentimes that's deemed as crazy, you know, when they see the differences, but does that happen to you often?
Or? Oh, it's happened to me. Almost anything that has happened in a relationship has happened to me, or if I've done it. I got to be honest. You know, I'm not sitting here on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been the crazy one sometimes.
Okay.
You know,
that's what I'm talking about.
You know, I've been the insecure one sometimes. Okay. You know. Okay. I've been the one who wasn't working sometime. Okay. You know.
So don't tell me you've been a stalker now.
I've stalked sometime. And as the years, as I've grown to mature, you know, you realize that it was crazy. Yeah. You know, it was crazy. You know, sometimes things like that cross my mind. I go, oh, I did that. You know, and today, you know, just through a lot of prayer, through a lot of consultation, you know, with people like you know, mentors, pastors, you know, deacons, you learn to give. Mm-hmm. And if you spend more time giving, you ain't got time to be crazy.
So did you find yourself slipping into the control seat?
I've been there.
It had to be your way or the highway.
I've been there. Okay. So, you know, it's easy for me to spot. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, you know, mm-hmm. I've been that person. And I've been in a relationship where I've given control, total control. Here, take it, if that's what you want.
One tough question.
Yes, sir.
Have you been the cheater? in the relationship.
Yes. And was proud of it.
Okay.
Yeah, was proud of it. Wore it like a badge.
Right.
You know, I got to the point where I told him, you know.
Okay.
I got somebody, I want you too.
That's why this show is called On the Line. This brother keeping it on the line.
Yeah.
So, Maya, let me ask you. Earlier on, and you're only 20 years old. So when I say earlier on, I can't really go back too far in your life because you're still developing as a youth. But does it get tough for you to really like hold on to some of those principles that you have? Do you have times when you feel vulnerable and weak?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. And sometimes I feel stronger, like more empowered by a situation. Like now, when I was younger, like in high school, like I stopped actually hanging around certain people because I felt more vulnerable to partake in different things, if that makes sense. Like,
right.
So I had to learn how to, separate myself from certain situations, like not even get involved with certain people because I already know, right. what is going to be. So.
Right. So who was really instrumental in your development early on?
Well, mores, my mom, elders at the House of Israel, the Israelite community. Right. Just really just having that family-oriented relationship.
Right. So was Big Mama around and,
Yeah, my grandmother,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
all of us, I know in our community, all of us had Big Mama there.
Mama deal.
Big Mama always gave you the golden rule. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Boy, you better treat that girl right.
Yeah.
But I also heard my mom say, you better treat that man right as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a two-way street. One of the things that I want to touch on before we go to some of the callers, and maybe this might incite some questions, is that battered men. Now, recently, I've heard the term battered men syndrome. Of course, I work in the field. And I was talking to a colleague, and we were talking about a particular client. And one of the things that came about is that we recognized that he had been a battered man. And some of the symptoms are not as obvious as those that, when you look at battered women, it's pretty much, it's more obvious than it is with men. Because men tend to be more private, they conceal, they don't want you to know, they hide, they hide their feelings, they don't know how to express them. So, I'm looking at this battered male syndrome. And I come to find out that this is more prevalent in our community than we give credit to. And you're shaking your head, Mike, as if you're familiar with this. Go ahead, expound.
I mean, they make it popular on social media, like especially the younger generation. Like they make it okay to call your boyfriend a B word, smack him and punch him, and different stuff like that. Like a lot of girls are doing that, and they think it's cool, and they're bragging to their friends, but like, I smacked him.
Yeah.
Smacked him.
I smacked the beat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
but if it was the other way around,
then
everybody be like, why would you it's the same thing.
And I'm glad that came from you, in particular. Not only because you're a female, but you're a younger, strong female, and you give a perspective that I talk about much of the time. One of the things that I've heard my parents say to me was, and you said it earlier, the way that you start something is the way that you finish. Once you disrespect a person, you virtually lost all respect for them. So to call someone a B or to put your hands on them, that's just total disrespect. And I don't see how you get back from there. Do you? How do you get back from that? Or is it possible?
You don't. I mean, it's possible. I've seen it. I've seen it. I mean, people do make mistakes, and in the heat of the moment, sometimes, emotions can run high and things can come out of your mouth, that you can't retract, but you are genuinely apologetic for. So I know that people do make mistakes, but when certain behaviors are repetitive, that's just that person.
So, Anthony, let me ask you, and since we're talking about battered males in the relationship, I see or I hear of women that are watching Snap. You know what I'm saying? And they caught up on Snap.
Right.
Fatal. What's this
Attraction.
one? Fatal Attraction. These are shows that probably perpetuate that thinking. Listen, Namani is got a question for us from one of our Twitter feeds. So let me see if I can get this. What would you tell someone dealing with domestic violence? Why don't we start with you, Anthony?
I would tell someone they're dealing with domestic violence to leave, to get out.
Is it that easy?
It's got to be. It ain't gonna be easy if your heart invested in it, but it'll be a lot better to get out, because I think you not only help yourself, but you help the person who's actually perpetuating the domestic violence, because you send a strong message when you leave. Mm-hmm. What you was doing was so dramatic to me that I had to cut you out of my life. I had to cut out all ties and just leave you the way it was. I'm leaving furniture, cars, bills, kids. I'm gone. I'm out.
And that's ideal. That's ideal to think that way, I'm sure. And I say the same thing. Just leave. But I'm told that it's not that easy by professionals.
Because domestic violence doesn't necessarily have to be physical.
Right.
It can be mental.
Right. Okay.
It can be emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So it don't have to be. A lot of people say domestic violence mean not necessarily that you running around with black eyes and your clothes ripped and you got scratches on your face. It could be mental and emotional.
So that's as well for the woman or the man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So men pretty much won't get out of a relationship for pretty much some of the same reasons that women won't leave a relationship. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
I think most men don't leave relationships out of more or less. I think the number one thing is failure. I'm gonna look like a failure if I leave.
Okay.
Okay. Some men don't leave because, first of all, they playing on the side anyway, so they getting the best of both worlds. So why leave?
Okay.
I'm getting my cake and eat it too. If she clown a little bit, so what?
So what? It's acceptable. Yeah. I can tolerate that,
right?
Because I'm getting something to kind of cushion the blow,
Boom.
So to speak. What do you say about that, Mike?
Well, what I say about that, what you're saying, I know some women, they do stuff on the side too. So why you doing what you're doing? She doing what she doing too. So like they don't even care. Like they're like, okay, we're together, but we're single. We're together when we're together, but we're apart. We're single. You know what I mean? That's how a lot of people are. Like it's crazy. Like it's like sometimes you can hang with a group of people and it's like it's literally a big orgy. Everybody's with everybody, and that's not normal.
Wow. And with all the diseases that are running rampant today, I don't think that's
this is the third year in a row that the United States has reached an all-time high for STDs and STIs.
Wow. This girl got the data, too. Let me ask you this. So, what would you tell a woman, younger or older, what advice would you give her or him in getting out of a domestic violence situation?
First, depending on the situation and the severity, the longevity of the relationship, financial ties, make a plan. Sometimes you can't just get up and, just walk away. Not saying that you have to still be romantically involved with this person. Not saying that you have to, still always be there. Devise a plan. If you have family, seek family support. Mm-hmm. Tell somebody. Reach out to somebody. Somebody can help you to the point where you can instantly remove yourself from the situation. But if you're not a person, because these are people that are typically targets of domestic violence. People who the abuser knows nobody's going to help you. Nobody's going to believe you. Nobody cares about you.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes the abuser has been abused.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, yeah, that's transference. So, kind of like what goes around comes around.
Yeah. Or seeing abuse.
This is what I've seen growing up, and this is what I
feels
and
acceptable.
Since we're talking about beliefs, and that's part of the beliefs, how do you, one of our callers we had somebody chime in, and they want to know, how do your beliefs affect your choice in partners? Maya, why don't you start off and take that?
Well, it plays the determining factor. Yes, it does.
It's the determining factor?
Yes, it's the determining factor. For me, considering that I'm not a strong believer of entering the boyfriend and girlfriend kind of thing, I'm just like, okay, we're friends, we enter a courtship, and then we're married pretty much. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not the kind of person like, I want to have 3, 4, 5 boyfriends a year. That's crazy to me. So it plays a big role, because one day I want to have children, and I don't want to have that argument and the awkwardness of, I can't celebrate Christmas, but my child's father, they ultimately have the rights of the children. So I mean, it's going to make it harder for me. So why not just take my time, be careful, and marry someone who's of the same beliefs as me?
Okay, so, just to kind of throw a little spice in it, so you don't need a guy that's of the same belief, but you meet someone, Maya, that you really like, and he's of a different faith. Say he's Muslim. Mm-hmm. Say he's a Christian. And you really like this guy. Do you try to change his views? What do you do? How would you? Well,
no, I can't change somebody's views, but what I can do is, and what I do is, I just show you how I live my life, mm-hmm. how it's beneficial to me, and I let you into that aspect of my life. I don't, force it on you. I just show you, hey, this is what I do. This is what me and my family do. This is what I'm about. If we were to take it further, I'm seeking someone that's, about this and that. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, that's fine too. We can remain friends. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to rush anything and ruin a friendship, because we can really be friends. I have no problem. But as far as, becoming a part of my life,
Right.
full time.
So what about you, Anthony? How does beliefs play a part in your choosing a mate?
I guess as long as it ain't satanic.
It's good.
It's I've been in that situation before, where the person had totally different beliefs, and I actually had studied their belief and was part of their belief at one time. So I knew a lot about it, and they just refused to even entertain my beliefs. Mm-hmm. And I still accepted theirs. But because at the end of the day, I'm not going to lose any peace about some beliefs.
Right.
My relationship, the most important thing to me about an intimate relationship is the harmony and peace in it. I'm a black man. When I walk out the door every day, it's a target on my forehead. I'm fighting all these forces. When I get back home, I don't want to have to fight another force. I want to be able to take my shoes off, it's some peace and quiet, feel some love, feel some harmony, and put our head and our mind and our souls together and our finances and live happily ever after. Right. But if I have to go home and fight another war, I don't want to go to that house. I don't want to be in that situation. I will cut it off.
Okay.
I am done.
Great. I was just thinking that I've heard it mentioned that never did we differ until we gained understanding, until we gained some sort of different ideas and wisdom. This is an adage. Actually, it's not said that way, but I'm a Muslim, as you know, and it's said that we differed after we've gotten some information, right? So one of the things that I think that we lose track of is that in the beginning, no matter, first of all, the same God is the author of all books. At least that's what I believe. He's the same author. And I think that he said that he created the heavens and earth and man and woman. I think we lose sight of that. Namani, you got another question for us. The rules of the game have changed. How does that affect you? Mr. Jordan, the rules of the game changed, bro. You ain't got those goldfish in them shoes no more. You know what I'm saying? The game has changed, bro. So what do? Now remember, I told you they got snapped.
We create a game.
Okay.
We create a game.
Okay.
Today, in a relationship, in the game of life, in the game of entrepreneurship, whatever, you gotta be an innovator. You gotta let people know what you want, what you'll stand for, what you won't stand for, what you'll take, what you won't take, and you don't settle for anything less.
I think you're absolutely right. You hit on something, and it's the communication piece. I think that is paramount to any relationship. I think when we conceal some things about where we want to go, as we were talking about in the first segment, you know, the element of surprise, that not meeting expectations or having expectations.
And I say that not in a arrogant type of way. I'm saying today, me and Mijah is starting to talk. And Mijah lets me know I'm celibate until we get married. I can accept that. But I also expect you to accept that I work 15 hours a day, and in Vito in a better restaurant is my first and foremost. Now, we on even ground at this point. We got a problem if you start flipping out about in Vito in better restaurant, because see, I accepted what you said.
Right.
We don't have no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
I might, baby, and she say, remember, and I say, okay, my bad, I was slipping.
Mm-hmm.
But then I ain't trying to hear about how many hours I work and how much time I spend over here.
Mm-hmm.
Cause see, the word I keep using and it keep messing me up in relationships is fair. Cause see, I'm looking for fairness.
Right.
And so when I say the game, it's, I have a few things that just I don't adjust them. Ain't no negotiation.
Right. So now you said fair, and I'm going to throw this at you as well, Mike. You talked about fairness in the relationship. Is it fair? Now, if you have a significant other, a girlfriend, and she's progressive, you know, you're pretty progressive. So to be out there on the line, say for instance, she's in politics and she's rubbing elbows with a lot of men, you know, on a daily basis. And you know, there's always the follow-up. Mm-hmm. There's always the follow-up, you know. And so for you, if it was a man, so you can formulate this in your mind to fit a man. You know, how do you all feel with your significant other, you know, having communication with the other sex? Is that a turn-off? Is that something that, you know, are you secure enough to handle that? Maya, I want to start with you.
That's life. I mean, you're going to go on a job interview. The person interviewing you might be a man. You're going to go to the doctor. Person want to see if it's wrong with you might be a man or a woman. Like, it's the world. You're going to talk to the opposite sex. I mean, it's all about intentions and ultimately what that person does, what your significant other does. It doesn't matter. You're not affiliated with the other person unless it's like a family or a friend or something like that. But if it's just like people you don't even know or such, I wouldn't even pay it any mind. It's all about that person's intent.
You're ahead of your time. Oprah, watch out. Watch out, Oprah.
Yes.
Anthony.
Yes. Again, I'm going to use an analogy. Me and Mijah in a relationship. Maya's an activist. Mm-hmm. She's the understudy of Malcolm X. Mm-hmm. They going on all these tours or whatever. Now I'm doing in Vito in a better restaurant. I have a cooking demo, council on aging next week. Malcolm X has cooking demo. Malcolm X, they have an activist function on the same day at the same time. Who you going with?
One of yours.
Okay. I've had people who sat down and asked me, well, Malcolm has something next week at 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Don't you have something at 6 o'clock on Wednesday? I go, yeah. I said, well, Malcolm wants me to support him. What do you think I should do? Go with Malcolm. Mm-hmm. I'll talk to you later.
So, secureness. What I just heard was being secure.
It's
it's paramount, and I think, and we're running out of time, but just to kind of like rope this thing in a little bit, from what you all just said, one of the key things that I'm taking out of this segment, and the one before, is that, number one, communication is paramount. Communication is paramount, and also to be able to be understanding enough to give. Sometimes, a lot of times, we give more of ourselves than we think that we should, but you got to keep on giving. I think love, and I'm going to say this is Britton NewOne Carter saying this, I think love is the gift that keeps on giving.
Ooh.
Huh? You know what I'm saying? When the road gets a little rough, I think it's got to keep on giving.
Love covers all sins.
Sometimes you got to take a time out, but it keep on giving.
It's the ultimate win.
Hey, listen, you guys have been great. I've enjoyed you tonight. It's been a blast. To our callers, I just want to say, to those that followed us and chimed in and proposed the questions, hey, thank you very much. We're going to do this thing one more time. We're going to do it periodically on some different topics. I got a minute left. They signaling to me, so I just want to hit you all real quick and let you remind our audience who you are and how to get in touch with you.
Mijah Watson on Twitter at BagLady, LADIE on Twitter. Follow
real
me.
quick.
Anthony Jordan, VitoChef.com, A Better Restaurant, 123 Facebook.
And even quicker, Britton NewOne Carter. Remember, if you ain't doing nothing, if you ain't doing something, then life is just miserable, and you need to start taking care of your business and do something. Peace, love. We out of here.